The two recent anime this video is about were both pretty good and awful. Let me explain a second. I watch these seasonal shows mostly so I'd have something to talk about on my podcast, Baka Talk, link in the description, and for the most part, I've legitimately liked them. But there are some massive problems with both of these shows. I don't have enough to say about each of these to have its own video, but I did want to talk about them. Make sure you watch to the end to hear my thoughts on the second show, because that one has some, you'll just want to see. It's actually insane. Enough explanation, on with the video. I'm Wheeze, by the way. Subscribe and watch this video 20 billion times so I can beat Baby Shark. Thanks! The first one is Takt Op Destiny. My first complaint with Takt Op Destiny is the name. Anime names tend to just be so awful. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is a pretty good title compared to things like The Genius Prince's Guide to Raising a Nation Out of Debt. These titles are just the synopsis of the freaking anime, which actually kinda makes sense, but ruins all of their cool factor when they are titled like YouTube videos. But these ridiculous titled anime pale in comparison to shows like Takt Op Destiny, which you can't even comprehend. Sure, it kinda makes sense if you've seen the show, but the title isn't for the people who've seen the show. It's for the people who haven't. I didn't even want to talk about this anime, made as a prequel for a mobile game, because its name is so bad. Made as a prequel for a mobile game. How did this get greenlighted? Such a big anime studio too. Dang. Anyway, with that out of the way, this show was actually good. Takt, the main character, and Destiny, the other main character, had great chemistry, and their story was good, with some really powerful moments about the concept of consciousness and letting go of the past. Destiny took over the body of Cosetto, I like the way they pronounce it, and they handled her situation really well in a mature and realistic way. So that stuff was good, except for the ending, it wasn't great. The side characters were likable, the villains were not great, but it didn't ruin the show, and the concepts were actually pretty cool, if a bit cringe at times. The execution of that concept, however, is my biggest complaint from the show. With the stellar animation and good character writing, this had the potential to be something special, but instead, we got a pretty generic action show. One of the main problems was with the world building. The beginning of the show has the concept of monsters that are attracted to music. So there's a concert in a park, monsters come and wreck the city. It's kind of a Quiet Place style concept. Music is tragically outlawed. It's almost post-apocalyptic, but they kept it from becoming total annihilation. Also, the music arts are like superheroes that were created from music to fight the monsters. All of that is cool. People are very passionate about music, so that would be a big deal and very depressing circumstances. The problem with the world is that the style of the show doesn't feel unique. Sure, there's a lot of references to classical music and the main character's love for it, but so does JoJo. It doesn't mean it suddenly is a story about American rock bands. Takt Op Destiny does talk a lot about music, but it doesn't show it very well. The music arts that fight with music have very little musical effects. They don't sound like music, they don't fight to the beat of music, they barely have anything to do with music at all, except for some references. It just felt like a normal battle whenever they fought. I like the conductor-music cart relationship, with the conductor directing the music cart like in an orchestra, but they do not parallel it with music much more than that. My other main problem is the use of music in the series. If they didn't play music in the show, it would create a sense of depression and sadness over the loss of it. Then, when we went to a fight or when Takt finds a piano, it would be a huge moment and increase the tension and make it almost terrifying because of the threat of the monsters. I don't remember what they're actually called, and I don't feel like looking it up. Just the emotional impact and the use of music within the telling of the story could have been amazing, but instead they did it just like any other show and even put music over a scene that had Takt playing the piano so the music overlapped with each other. Yeah, this was my biggest complaint and made me lose immersion in the story. They were all like, the world has lost music, and then dorky music is playing during a comedic scene between Takt and Destiny. I was really disappointed and felt like it was a risk they should have taken. I think it would have paid off. My only other complaint is the monsters are supposed to be attracted to music, but they are just everywhere, which is explained, but with how fast the show is, with only 12 episodes, it initially feels like weak writing, especially that some places that actually have music aren't even attacked. Overall, decent show, beautiful animation. I liked the character design of Destiny, which is why I started it. Give it until the 3rd episode to see if you like it. Now onto this train wreck of an anime. I just finished Platinum End. This show was shaky from the start, but I surmised if the ending was really good, this could be a pretty good show. Spoiler warning, this was not a pretty good show. It was simply a show. I can't even explain if it was bad or not. It definitely wasn't good. The character writing and plot was not good enough to call the show a secret masterpiece or anything like that, but it was a show, and I really enjoyed it for the most part. Overall, I'm going to forget this anime and remember it every once in a while for its insane ending. It'll be more fun to talk about this than it is to actually watch it, is where I'm going to end up on this, I think. Before I get into the ending, let me tell you what I really liked about it. The risky writing style and insane concepts are super cool, and I hope Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata keep working on a lot of projects together, even though this was a miss for the famed writers of Death Note. The idea of 12 suicidal people given powers by angels after being saved, and then told they are candidates to be chosen as the next god, is a really cool concept with a lot of mysteries and intrigue. Spoiler warning for Platinum End, but I don't really recommend watching it, so it's not that big of a spoiler warning. The first half deals with one candidate deciding to kill all the others so he would be god by default, which is pretty epic, and his reasoning for doing so was that he was rich, thought poor people were worthless, and had a creepy desire for his sister's purity that is somehow worse than if he just had a romantic interest in her. Like, how do you even get that bad? The best part of all of this is the protagonist refusing to kill this guy and being annoyingly slow in development of his shallow character. Somehow, I still kinda liked him. This all leads up to him, the girl, and Mikado, who is probably the best character of the series. A guy dying of cancer with his final wish to kill this rich psycho murderer. And with our protagonist in love with Mikado because of Cupid's arrow, he holds down this guy as Mikado pulls the trigger of his fully automatic gun that blows our villain to pieces right in front of our pacifist hero. It was pretty epic and a great final moment for Mikado. It was also shocking because of how, Mirai, feels about it. I was waiting for it not to work, either someone changing their mind or Mirai giving up on holding him down, and then he just gets blasted to pieces and leaves no room for maybe he could come back. Being in the middle of 12 episodes makes this more shocking, as you kind of expect him to be the main villain for the whole story. It was an extremely satisfying moment, which completely contrasts the ending of this anime, although in its own way, it was satisfying too. I like the risky ending, but it also feels like something a child would make up. I really have no idea what to make of it, so I will simply describe it to you and let you decide. I am not making this up or embellishing it like I do in Demon Slayer Explained Badly. This is just what happened. So, the god candidates talk, and there's this whole thing about this atheist professor guy who basically wants to prove God doesn't exist and wants to do this by killing him. His theory is that the god who started this god contest thing is a false god and was created through the energy of people believing in him. So basically how the North Pole power system works in Elf. So anyways, our main character doesn't want to do this because he thinks everyone who believes in God will all lose hope and commit suicide, which doesn't really make any sense to begin with, and it only gets more illogical because the candidates are like, I guess we can all decide who becomes the next god if we just all agree, even though they were told it would last 999 days. Maybe I misremembered something, but I don't remember an angel ever telling them they could just vote on it. Okay, so all of this is going down on live TV. The professor guy has some of them held hostage, and his goal is to kill all the god candidates, and then have him and Suicidal Boy kill each other at the same time so that no god will be born. This plot sounds just worse and worse as I explain it. A few things randomly happen, like Nase, the angel of our main character, losing her position, which gave Mirai a special arrow to kill people, because she saved our main character, and then instantly regains her status because she saved the professor from getting killed. But none of this matters because of what happens at the very end. Although the Suicidal Boy worships the professor, he can't go through with killing anyone that doesn't already want to die, so he frees them and returns back to the professor. I don't remember exactly what led them to this, but Suicidal Boy tells the professor he will help him obtain all knowledge if he becomes God. Finally, they all agree because everyone agreed to him becoming God earlier in the story except the professor. And so it just works, and this kid becomes God. The professor's theory is partially correct. The god is like an energy thing that starts to combine with Suicidal Boy, but it takes a while. So he learns that the god created humans, but God was also created by something unknown to him, and that Nase was alive before he created anything, and that's why she is special. Suicidal Boy then hangs out for a few years before looking down on Earth to help all the suicidal people feel better about ending their lives, but he has compassion for them. Then he thinks about the professor and wanting to prove prove God doesn't exist and kill this false god. So he tells the angel that was watching him to summon all the angels. Then he kills himself, which kills God with him. Then the angel is like, dang, I was keeping watch on him until he completely merged with God, so this wouldn't happen. Heaven starts to die with all the angels disappearing. Meanwhile on Earth, all the humans start to disappear, starting with the youngest. Eventually, everyone disappears on Earth and the Earth dies. Nase, who apparently was the one thing not created by God, also disappears. Yes, the ending literally is, and everyone died, the end. Oh, what the heck is this show? That's all for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a little more rambly than my usual content, so let me know in the comments if you liked or disliked it. Haven't watched any of my other videos to compare? Then go watch one of the videos on my end screen. Jam meow.